Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah!
Yeah!
We got it! We got
New 52 booklet.
it! Somebody clip this one.
Welcome to Under Two Capes. I'm Jared. I'm here with Nick from the Phoenix Press. What's up, brother?
I am vengeance. I am night. I am not Batman.
Nice. So as critical as I always am about the Timm-verse, there are certain parts where I feel like it should be praised. And Batman the Animated Series is one of those things where I have zero criticisms for, except for the fact that that it did like dumb down Batman in some ways. But besides that, I'm like, with the content that the show provided, I'm going to start off by saying this show is part of it. Came out the right time, and it was part of why we got the Batman that we enjoy today. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I think BTAS is kind of one of those few perfect perfect shows that, like, while what came afterwards you can criticize, this is one of those few things that like everybody enjoys.
Yeah, and even I do, because here's the first thing. So when you look at cartoons that were coming out at the time, extremely kiddie, like Super Friends and all that stuff. This was the first one that came out that that at least I can remember, where it was like parents could watch this and be like, okay, this is actually good stuff, and it's not like giving me an aneurysm because of the way they because of the way they did the show and the way they like maturize the stuff. Because when you look at a lot of the standards and practices that were in position, if you will, around this time period, a lot of this show, I'm surprised they got away with it.
Yeah, like I think this is kind of one of those first times were like adult animation,
Yeah.
or like just animation in general in the West was taken seriously. Because like, yes, anime has been taking animation seriously literally for decades by that point, but this is kind of like one of the first times that like adult animation, American animation, and by that I mean American animation produced in America. Sometimes like they would ship it out to Korea, but I'm talking like primarily produced, created, storyboarded in America, or created with American sensibilities by American creators.
Yeah. And yeah, and I think part of the reason why it was allowed to get away with that darker tone is because when you look at what was going on with Batman around the time that this show came out, and this is why I say right place, right time, because you had the Michael Keaton movie, and then actually first you had Dark Knight Returns coming out, and then the Michael Keaton movie. So you already had like Batman going in this direction anyway, and it was showing that it's popular and that people want this. So so I think that ultimately, here's another thing. Whenever I see people critique Frank Miller about saying like, "Oh, I don't like Dark Knight Returns; it's too dark and all that stuff," and I'm like, you really, when you think about it, you wouldn't have BTAS the way it is, the way everyone enjoys, without Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, Dark Knight Returns, you can love it or hate it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you need to acknowledge it is kind of like the inflection point, because this, like, Batman Dark Knight Returns was the first comic book to be reviewed as serious literature.
In the
like,
Rolling Stones.
at the time, like, Rolling Stone reviewed it. Like, this was, like, like, the late 80s was really kind of a revolution in comics, where people were realizing, oh, hey, comic books can be more than just zap, bang, pow. Because you got to realize, even as far as the 80s, Batman was still viewed by his 60s incarnation.
Exactly. And even the comics, they had like stories, or like you could win a contest and get a tour of the Batcave, and it was very much Silver Agey like humor. And the thing about that is that had a place, but when it got to the point where the Batman was almost, I believe it got to the point where Batman was almost canceled as a character, then DKR is published, and then they started taking Batman. You had DKR, but you also had credit where credit is due to the Neil Adams Batman run, because that definitely contributed and like changed the direction of Batman.
Yeah,
into a
and
new
that was
direction.
as far back as the early 70s.
Yeah.
So like basically by the time Dark Knight Returns came out, like people like Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil had basically spent the last 15 years trying to rehabilitate Batman's image, and the general public still saw him as the Adam West counterpart.
Because it was the show. I think DKR being reviewed in like Rolling Stone's like mainstream publications is what started it essentially took what Adams and O'Neill did and advanced it to the next step and like made it more mainstream. Because if you're a comic book fan around that time, you knew Batman was not a joke because of the stories they were doing. It's just the mainstream audience still had Adam West in their head. Then all of a sudden, when you have this dark ass Batman story being reviewed by publications they trust, they probably gave it a shot and were like, "Oh, Batman's actually dark."
Yeah.
And then you had obviously the Michael Keaton movie, which we've talked about how that was a revolution in and of itself, and also because of like DKR and all that. So really, when you think of BTAS again, its success is right place, right time, at least in terms of like authorizing it. Then you had the fun fact that I learned today when I was watching the documentary about the show's making is that the intro, that was the pitch and the intro to BTAS, the iconic intro. That's pretty much the pitch animation that Bruce Timm and his production partner made for Warner Brothers to pitch them the Batman show.
Yeah, and then like another factoid.
They're like, here's what it could look like. Go ahead, Nick.
And another factoid, like this often gets repeated ad nauseum, is they would actually draw the animation on black construction paper.
Yes. Now, Nick,
explain
to the audience the effect that had.
So animation is usually done on white construction paper or just white paper in general. And by doing it on black, you basically have them, they drew it from the darkness instead of the light. It basically kind of created a whole different style of art style, a whole different approach to how they just drew the panels in general. And I think that really actually helped the show.
Yeah, because it's Batman and he's generally a dark character.
Certainly saved money on black ink, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. Does it come in black?
It comes in any color you want as long as it's black.
Yes, exactly. But the other thing with this show that, I mean, I know chances are I don't have to mind this audience is like the effect it had on even Batman's rogues, because I got news for you. Mr. Freeze is not the Mr. Freeze that we all know and love without this show. He was 100% a jokey character.
Yeah, like anyone who says otherwise, I urge you to go back and watch the Adam West show and look at Mr. Freeze. He's barely recognizable.
Yeah, it's just part of what made this show good is that it hammered in as opposed to Batman's rogues being like just straight up supervillains, it made you care for them and it made you kind of see, okay, so this is why they are who they are.
Exactly. And what's amazing is pretty much everyone in comics, when they saw, they'd be like, okay, yes, this is what we want from Mr. Freeze. Because like as early as Batman and Robin, when they had Mr. Freeze, they used the BTAS origin, which was like less than 5 years later. And it was basically cemented as the canon origin. Like they got it so right. Everyone agreed, okay, yep, this is it.
It's kind of like when Zach casted Momoa as Aquaman and basically improved the character. It was like
I would say crack the Aquaman code, because they've been trying to make Aquaman cool for decades now. And it's finally when they're like, okay, this is how we do it. We just hire Jason Momoa.
Oh yeah, he makes anything cool. But my point is that there are occasions when deviating slightly from the source material aids you if it aids in the story and like the reinvention of the character. Freeze and Momoa's Aquaman is an example of that. Are examples of that. Then you and by the way, just so you guys know, we're only talking about the original BTAS, not new adventures with Batman, not the comics, like the one that I had to read. Not any of that. This is just pure BTAS. Just that. And that's why I can praise this up the yin yang, because short of the ancillary material that was a little BS, this a perfect show. Then you also have, honestly, it's because the other effect that this show had on the character going forward is that now I can't hear Batman without hearing Kevin Conroy.
Well, yeah. That's another thing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, he really he became the iconic voice of the character, I think, at that point, if you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also had we've talked about Harley Quinn many times on this show, but again, the original Harley Quinn, the good version of Harley Quinn that became so iconic, is because of this show. This is one of the rare occasions where a character is created for the show.
Harley Quinn wouldn't exist without this show.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the idea is that is the original version that was so iconic that it took off from Batman the Animated Series. So it's really...
What's the matter, Mr. J? Don't you want to rev your Harley? Voo, voo.
No, he wants to ride a Christmas tree, a Christmas tree rocket.
No, the Joker wants to get away.
Yeah, exactly. But so let me ask you this, Nick. What's your favorite BTAS episode?
Oh, it's hard to pick. There's so many of them.
There's so many really great ones.
Probably the one with like the lady who didn't age from like the sitcom thing. Other than that, Heart of Ice. Like we're talking about like Mr. Freeze earlier. Another one, like honestly, just On Leather Wings, the first episode. They just nailed it right out of the gate. Like sometimes some shows need like a couple episodes, half a season to really find their footing. The show just knew what it was right from the start.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Taladia?
Hey, what's up?
So, Taladia, you came at the right moment. What's your favorite BTAS episode?
My favorite episode is the Batman who got captured. You know, the one where he was in the attic or whatever.
I got Batman in my basement. Is that with the Penguin? Oh, that's an interesting
so they
one.
have Batman at home.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, we have Superman at home. David Cornsweat. But anyway,
he's still putting on his boots. Meanwhile, Henry Cavill already defeated the monster.
Exactly. I have 3. It's the one, I forget the title of this specific episode, but it's the one that's basically the island of Dr. Moreau where Catwoman is turned into an actual Catwoman.
Meow.
There's that one. I forget the title of that one. And by the way, those of you watching, or Jared, when he's editing this, put the title of the episode on there. Heart of Ice,
yes,
obviously.
Future Jared, you suck.
Yes. Heart of Ice, obviously, because we talked about how you wouldn't have the good version of Mr. Freeze without that. And then I gotta go with, honestly, I'm gonna go with On Leather Wings. Like, the first episode clearly established all of the like main parts of Batman so well.
On Leather Wings, my favorite moment from that episode is the phone call when he's like in the bat suit and he's like talking, and then all of a sudden he does his Bruce Wayne voice.
Yeah.
Like obviously that's kind of a nod to the Adam West version. Oh, speaking of that, we got to talk about the Gray Ghost.
Oh yeah, you mean that was actually Adam West?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was, and I mean obviously the Gray Ghost was meant to be like the Shadow. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a nice passing of, like, honestly, I view that's like one of my favorite passing of the torch kind of episodes, because that's very much what it is.
Yeah, that's very much. And then, so Taladia, speaking of gaming, because of this, we got Kevin Conroy's Arkham Batman, which really, when you think about it, I know Arkham is like more mature than the animated show, but it's done in such a way that you could actually treat it as a continuation of the show. Kind of,
yes, kind of. But it's hashtag. It's because I was gonna say hashtag is hashtag full circle.
Yeah, there you go. I love how that's our thing, by the way. So, but you know why? Paul Dini was a writer on the game.
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously not like a 1-1 adaptation, but like I said, it feels very Batman made series, but also they hired like all the core cast, like obviously Kevin Conroy, you got Mark Hamill the Joker, Arlene Sorkin as Harley Quinn. Like I'm actually sad she got replaced in the later games, But like for Arkham Asylum, it's purity. And
It's really
by the way,
good.
can I just say Arlene Sorkin does
Yeah.
a great job in Asylum. She is amazing in that game. She has not missed a beat.
R.I.P.
Rest in peace.
By the way, so what's actually kind of cool is that in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I found the plaques that they have to immortalize Kevin and Arlene. And above Kevin's plaque, they have a bat logo, obviously. In front of Arlene, they have like her diamond logo.
Good.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I felt that it took me forever to find that, but I finally did. But anyway, so back to this. And the thing about this show is that, by the way, Taladia, remember where we were on the Sci-Fi Center and William went on a rant about how this pacified Batman for a lot of people? Because I get that, and it's not the show's fault, because the show is just presenting a version of the character that they could only live because there's only so far that they could go with the storytelling. Like they're not like having like Crazy Quilt who like sews people up into quilts as a villain on the show unless they significantly dumb him down.
Yeah. Did they ever have Zaz on the show?
I don't remember. Let me look that up real quick.
Yeah, Zaz would be a hard villain to have on the show. I'm sorry.
Victor Zaz on BTAS. Paul Dini said he would never make an appearance in either show. He had a sketch of him. Yeah, because when you look at the guy that like makes marks on his body for every kill, there's no way that standards and practices would let them do that character.
Warner Brothers wouldn't allow it.
I mean, the very fact that we got Darkseid done pretty much comic accurate is a miracle. And obviously,
yeah, but that came later, though.
Yeah. I was about to say.
Also, the other thing is, Justice League Unlimited was hitting a older age demo. Plus, it was on cable, so it was allowed to get away with a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. So continuing on, I mentioned about the overall maturity of the show. Because, like we just said, does the show kind of dumb down Batman a little bit and pacify a few of the villains? Yeah, it's not necessarily its fault, but it goes close enough that it's not like annoying because there are some shows that like when they try and sanitize them, it gets extremely noticeable and then it impacts the story. With this, they had good enough writers. Yes, I'm complimenting Bruce Timm on this. On this show, I will compliment him. They had good enough creatives that they could work around that. Because I'm sorry, like or not his later stuff, the very fact that Timm and Dini were able to make a Batman show this dark, go this far, is a miracle.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and the only reason they were able to do it is because they like the Warner Brothers wanted like a Batman show out like right now. Mm-hmm. And they said, we don't care what it is, just put it out here, and we need it by this time. So the fact that they needed it so quickly is what allowed them to make it what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I kind of want to talk about the more on the lasting legacy of the show because here's the thing. Even in the comics, most comics writers, when you ask them, guys who have written Batman, what was your inspiration for this? They're going to say BTAS. Like... I'm 100% sure if you ask them, they'll say one of their inspirations was either the Neil Adams run or BTAS. It's one of those two. Rightly so, because this was a character-defining show. And it's kind of like the way they did with Superman. And this is my thing about the DCAU. The writing was better when they only had to focus on one hero. That's at least in my opinion. Because, Nick, in this show, we never had like any BS like shit like retcons like in that Green Lantern episode you and I just reviewed. Now, let me ask you this. What are some stories that you think they could have gotten away with? Because I think they could have done Under the Red Hood.
Well, honestly, let's say the comics at the time, Under the Red Hood, that story was 10 years away.
No, but I'm saying if they were... If like it came out at that time,
I disagree. I mean, if we're gonna go at this from like a content angle, like is the tone of the show, could it do it? Yes, but from a story perspective, it really wouldn't work because they pretty much skipped over Jason.
Oh yeah, show. That is true. That is true. Yeah.
I mean, I realize in like some of the ancillary material they retcon Jason in, but I'm just going off of. Because basically it was Dick Grayson, and then they went to straight to Tim Drake, which is he in of himself is a combination of Jason and Timm. Like they basically gave Timm Jason's origin, but he acted kind of like more like Timm.
It was kind of funny. Return of the Joker is pretty much under the Red Hood, but for this continuity.
I mean, kind of. Instead of becoming a hero, he just became a Joker. It's a big stretch, but I can kind of see where you're coming from.
Yeah, but in terms of the other story that I think they could have done really well is Court of Owls. If I'm taking modern stories that I think they could do really well, because they did the League of Shadows, and really Court of Owls is just the next step from that.
Yeah, agreed.
What about you, Nick? What storylines? It can be modern storylines. Do you think they could have done?
Definitely No Man's Land.
Yeah.
Probably maybe War Games. See, the problem with a lot of modern Batman stories is they're so dependent on the extended Batman family in order to work.
True.
Whereas BTAS is mostly a Batman show. Mm-hmm. So you need storylines that are Batman focused, which you don't really get in a modern era. Like Court of Owls, I can kind of see working, but like...
Do you think they could have done Damian's son of Batman?
Probably. To be honest, I get why they had Talia in the Batman Beyond episode, but it would have made more sense to have Damian be the one. But the fact that they never had Damian, it's just kind of But I will say BTAS was perfectly set up. If they would have had a season 5 of BTAS, I would have put Damian in there.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Tavia, before you say anything, no, you can't say Super Sons. I'm just gonna say that right there.
I mean, at this time, Connor didn't even exist. Like you're 5 years away from Connor even existing.
Plus, Superman is not with Lois in this continuity up until Justice League, I think. So there you go. That's
not even that. They're barely together even in JLU.
And that's part of the good part of JLU. But anyway, so it's so Taladia, same question. Yeah. Now, modern stories, but bear in mind what and Nick said. Try and go on to Batman focused storylines and less on Bat family focused.
So Batman focused, I would love to have seen Zero Year adapted.
They could have done that.
That would have been really interesting to see 0 Year adapted into the animated series.
They could have. That's a good idea.
Another story I would love to have seen. You've mentioned Batman Under the Red Hood. Have you talked about Batman Hush to a follow-up?
I was thinking about Hush because when you think about it,
about saying it myself, but I thought since it includes all the extended Bat family, I would probably say a modified version of it because I mean, if you strip out all the Bat family stuff and you just do Thomas Elliott, yeah, that could work with BTAS.
Well, plus, even if it were a movie, because when you look at the Bat family, the only person that you really have to cut out is Huntress because Batgirl's in this. Tim Drake is Robin. Nightwing obviously exists here. And then you have Batman. Don't bring up Superman, obviously. Skip the Superman part. But...
obviously, Harley's here.
Yeah, Harley's here. So...
Riddler.
There's actually less that you have to... Oh, skip the Jason part. Because again, we're not doing Under the Red Hood, but yeah, that's actually another good one because that actually works with the Bat family that we have in this continuity really well. And maybe Bruce Timm could handle the story better than the DC AMU did.
No, but here's another thing too. I would do it like Batman Hush as a later season type of thing,
like an entire season story.
Yeah, so then it's connected to Superman the animated series.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you could do that and have them both running concurrently. But remember, Batman and Superman, as far as I know, did not run concurrent.
No, it did not run concurrent.
If you did that, then yeah, obviously you could do that.
And New Adventures of Batman and STAS did run concurrently, and that's where we got the crossovers from.
You could do that. If we're talking about New Adventures of Batman, you could do that, and then you don't have to cut the Superman parts in there. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It'd be kind of funny is that you could, if we do this after the Apocalypse episodes coming out. So because for those that don't know, in Hush, Superman is under Poison Ivy's mind control, so when Batman snaps him out, you could have Superman go, not again. You could kind of do that. Plus, I would get a replay of Catwoman throwing Lois off a building. So there you go. I love that.
That'd be a thumbs up for Jared and myself.
Yeah, that is definitely a thumbs up. So great choices. Jeez. Yeah, you could actually make Hush work in this continuity.
You talked me into it. I changed my answer.
Yeah, because that's the one where you have to change small things, yes, but you don't have to change that much. In other words, and
it's a lot of ancillary details you have to change, but like the core of the story can still be used for the thing, so it still works, in my opinion.
And you know what they could do. All right, you know how Batman's costume changes between BTAS and New Adventures of Batman?
Yeah.
You could make this the transition movie between BTAS and New Adventures of Batman. You could adopt what the Dekamu did and change his costume in that movie. In other words, he falls and gets knocked out. The Thomas Elliot brain surgery thing happens, but then he gets. But then the New Adventures Batsuit is the Batsuit he changes into after that, because that's how in the Dekamu they put him in the gray and blue. So you could actually make that work. Wow. And you could also, I mean, if you wanted to have Huntress, you could probably just introduce her because she at least works in like Gotham. So in that little world. So it's not like she's like too Justice League dependent.
We'll a little bit of ramp up, but it could work. Yeah,
it could work. So actually, Taladia, great work there. Now,
No problem.
So let's talk about this. Who's your favorite character from the show, not counting Batman?
Oh, man.
Because my favorite character, I gotta say, it's gotta be Mark Hamill's Joker.
Oh.
Mine is Alfred. The dude is Quip Central.
Yes, it's so good. How about you, Taladia?
I thought Nick would have said Nightwing.
Doesn't Nightwing show up in BTAS or New Adventures?
New Adventures, but
Okay.
Yeah.
for me, it would have to be for Batman the Animated Series. I would have to say Jim Gordon.
Not bad. I like this version of Jim Gordon. I also like this version of Barbara Gordon, not mentioning outside comics, just in the show. Because that was cool. You also got Tara Strong playing Batgirl. And then ironically, she would go on to play Harley Quinn in pretty much everything. To tell you the truth, I prefer Arlene's Harley more. I kind of wish Arlene got more like of the Arkham games as Harley.
See, the problem is Arlene is actually playing a character. Tara Strong, I love her, but like her vocal range is great. But she kind of she basically, I don't know. Her Harley Quinn kind of feels like a standard Tara Strong character. Like I wanted to say her acting range is limited, but then I thought of Raven.
Yeah. I was about to say, be careful, Nick, because she does great as Raven.
But like her Harley Quinn feels like you can kind of like you could like if you took Arlene and Harley Quinn. You could they sound similar, but the way they approach the character is totally different.
Yeah. In other words, are you saying that like Tara's Harley is a little generic?
Yeah, like it basically just feels like, hey, let me just take my Bubbles voice, take it up 2 more octaves.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that, and that's a good point, Nick. But so in terms of let's go with this. So for the rest of the episode, this is what I want to talk about. So what Bat adjacent characters would you have liked them to make a spin-off cartoon? Nick, I know you're going to say Nightwing.
Nightwing.
Because honestly, reading the first arc of that Chuck Dixon run, yeah, they could turn that into an animated series.
I got a good one.
Go ahead.
Birds of Prey. Because you have Batgirl.
The fact that JLU never actually did a full-on Birds of Prey episode is actually honestly criminal. Because the Birds of Prey were a thing by JLU. They should have. I'm sorry, there should have been a.
What they could have done because. Oh, actually, yeah, in JLU, yeah, they could have. They could have done in BTAS the Gotham City Sirens because which is essentially a proto. Birds of Prey. If you didn't want to introduce Black Canary and Huntress now, because yeah, in my mind, I'm sorry, I don't care what the current comics does. To me, this is just my opinion. You don't have Birds of Prey without Barbara Gordon on the team.
Okay, tangent. I'm sorry, that's not really BTAS, more JLU.
Sure.
But like, let's say they did a Birds of Prey episode in JLU. Basically, they bring back Barbara as Batgirl because just trying to explain like she got like her spine or whatever. Just have her be Batgirl and team up with Huntress and Black Canary.
Here's the thing. You probably don't have to even address the spine because Killing Joke is not canon to this universe. I don't think they ever did Killing Joke.
Yeah, that's the problem. So she never got her spine thing out. So basically, she can't be Oracle. I mean, she could be, but like I just feel like
you could kind of do what the comics do now and have her some episodes be in the chair, maybe like on the computer, and some episodes be Batgirl.
Yeah, but having her be Oracle and just like have it be a one episode one and done, that just wouldn't make sense because Oracle would be working heavily with the Justice League
and the Suicide Squad and the Bat Family. What you could do, here's what you could do. If you take what happened in those comics as canon, make it so because of the falling out with Nightwing, that's what makes Batgirl lose the Batgirl suit and decide, I'm not going to wear your colors, your logo anymore.
Actually,
my own identity.
I have an even better one.
Go ahead.
Do we know exactly when the returning Joker Timm scene happens?
When in the timeline?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. When does Return of the Joker take place?
Because while you're looking it up, so I'm going to assume it happens before the start of Justice League, which would explain why there is no Bat Family characters in the show.
Yeah.
So if I'm operating under that logic, so basically Barbara refuses to be Batgirl again, but she is now Oracle. She can still walk around, but she's decided to help in other ways, so she's Oracle.
That works. Yeah, and then now you have the Birds of Prey.
And that also explains why why Nightwing or Batgirl or Robin doesn't really appear in the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
So yeah, I'm assuming that's
so we'll say let's have it.
Because remember, Supergirl and Batgirl were friends, so like they would have teamed up again.
Yeah, so let's assume it takes place after New Adventures.
Because the only mention of Barbara we got in Justice League was, her and Barbara are skiing in the Alps. That's the only mention we got of her.
Yeah, so make sure I understand this. So your plan is after what happened with Timm, the whole incident is what I guess inspired her to step away from being a bat.
Yes, she's not Batgirl anymore, but she decides to help out in other ways and be Oracle.
Okay, that makes sense actually, and it's less. And I don't have to canonize those crappy comics that I had to read for my 1,000 subscriber. Thanks for that. By the way,
make sense. The only question is the Timm is with the Titans comment from Static Shock. I don't know exactly where that happens. I think that's before Justice League.
Yeah.
Because I think some of Static Shock does bleed into Justice League a little bit, but
it does. Static does the crossover with the Justice League.
Well, we can say it happens before Unlimited at the very most.
Yeah, there you go. And just say that. So in terms of my show, what I would want to watch would actually be kind of cool is if we could see like a Catwoman show, because then we could see like a Gotham from the other side, from the criminals.
Catwoman's crazy capers.
Yeah, exactly. It's that. And it's like she interacts and like does crossovers occasionally with other villains like Two-Face and stuff, and you see how the other half lives essentially. So because I don't think we've ever done there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they've ever done an animated series from the villain's perspective.
To be honest, if I were to do that, I would just do Gotham City Sirens, because I feel like Catwoman alone might not be enough to hold up a show, but the three of them like doing stuff. That would actually make for a decent show.
Yeah, that could work. So, and by the way, drop below what Bat Family character you would like to see get a show. And again, Damien does not exist in this continuity.
I know exactly the perfect character that like This is like the most popular character of all time. Everyone loves this character. And then the fact that they never got their own spinoff is criminal. Ladies and gentlemen, Condiment King the series.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That'd be funny.
In that case, how about Kite Man? Hell yeah.
No. And the series is called Condiment King Catches Up.
I know it's a troll, but fantastic job, dude. I love that one.
No. Condiment King Catch Up.
I love that.
Terrible. I am so terrible, guys.
Yeah, I love that. So before we transition to final thoughts on BTAS, so Talad, do you have any other characters you think should get a show, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
All right. I got one more. An Alfred show taking place before where we see his like time in the OSS.
We could call it Pennyworth.
Yeah, exactly. And then later change
Actually, no. It should be live action.
Yeah, I know. And then
and then get like 2 or 3 seasons out of it. It'll be great.
And then Nick, during the series, we can inexplicably add on the Batman's butler. That's what they did, by the way. And I'm like, yeah, we know who Alfred is. If you put the DC logo and then call the show Pennyworth, I'm pretty sure we know who that is.
Yeah, I need to see that series. I need to watch.
Yeah, me too. I never watched it. I watched parts of Gotham, but I never watched part of Pennyworth. But anyway, so that's where we're going to leave it. So drop below your thoughts on BTAS, what you think they did right, what you think that they did wrong. In fact, you know what, real quick, let's do this. Nick, what's one thing that you think BTAS did wrong? It doesn't have to be anything like huge.
The fact that they didn't have Wonder Woman there and pair her up with Batman is a crime.
Okay, so Taladia, what do you think BTAS did wrong?
There's a lot of things, but I don't want to get demonetized your video, so I'm not gonna say.
Ancillary comics don't count. Just what did the show do that, or that you think they could have done better? And Nick, you're staying on the bottom for that comment.
It's a particular person of what he did to one of the characters in the show, and tried to put them together, and it never worked. Again,
I mean, outside of the ancillary material, because that didn't happen in the show.
Oh, okay. I got nothing.
In terms of, for me, I think they could have gotten away with having like episodes that were more parts. In other words, part 1, part 2, occasionally, like the way X-Men did, because that way you could like have longer storylines, because it feels like they tend to get formulaic at times.
Batman, What a Wonderful Woman, part 1, 2, and 3.
Nick, seriously, what do you think that they could have done better?
I kind of wish they would have done more with the Bat family, to be honest. Like, I mean, what we did get was great. You know, like the fall of Robin and the kind of rise of Nightwing was kind of cool. But like, I don't know. I would love to see more characters like Huntress and do more stuff. I don't know.
Okay, that would be really fun, and I definitely agree on that. So we're gonna call it. So this is coming out on Friday. So bear in mind on that when you guys are doing your self promos. I'll go first. Tomorrow we are reviewing X2 X-Men United, and then in terms of Super Wonder Legacy, Britt and I are going to be reviewing Justice League: The New Frontier. And in terms of commentary, I'm still thinking about what I want to do for that. So Taladia, where can we find you, and what have you got coming on your channel?
So you guys can follow me on Twitter at TaladiaPlays_, and on YouTube you can search me up for Taladia Plays. On my YouTube page, I have got I've got a video planned up for Summer Game Fest that's going to be recorded next week, and I've also got Snyder Fans Read Comics with Jared, as we're going to be talking about issue 14, and
Yeah,
we're going to be discussing Super Cheetah taking on Wonder Woman. So we'll be talking about that. Yes, I did call Superman Super Cheetah, FYI. Yes.
Yeah. All right, old man.
All right. So I'll be doing the Friday Night Frenzy later. We'll be talking about how the prequels were always good. Also, I got my Indiegogo going right now. We are trying to get to $600. We're currently, as of this recording the day before, $20 away. We can get there. I'll drop the entirety of page 12. That, and we can see that. So that'll be awesome. Then on Saturday, go, turn the Mojave, Plains of Fault, New Vegas. It'll be great. Thank you.
All right, stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod. Zoe is the Max Abat for life.